So SET, the Student Environment Task Tools, I know that some people have different ones that they use, but um, here, this is just a really great way to look at. This is the same, it goes through information about the SET framework, but really thinking about where are the students' strengths, what environments, how's a classroom arranged, thinking about what needs to happen, where it needs to happen, what are they wanting to do or needing to do, and then what tools could support that student. So what kind of technology? Would it be light tech? Would it be mid tech? Could it be high tech? So really thinking about those features that are needed and those tools that could support those features. We are sharing a couple other resources from MMSD. By no means are these the only resources that exist out there. We just like to share what we have and what we know, and we are happy to add to these with guidance and support from other districts or other teams. So feel free to share or give your ideas.
Anna, this first one I wasn't able to share.
Okay.
So
You
heads up.
might not be able to share this one, but I will double check on that for sure, Carly.
Yeah.
If not, we can also send some screenshots of some of this. But we talk about just the different areas where you would talk about assistive technology. But then the big piece about it is that you're really documenting it under special factors. You're documenting that it's a need there. And then you're also documenting that it's a need in the supplementary aids and services at the very end. Um, so those are the two big key areas that we like to mention. Also within goals, you can mention it in a goal if a student needs that device or support. And I'm not going to scroll through all this and make you all dizzy, but this one here is just another example document. So this goes through each of those sections and talks about how to document it in the IEP. We regularly try and add information to this and updates to this. We cannot take credit from all of this. A lot of this is from one of the quiet books. As far as examples, the only thing we have added some of our examples here when staff are just exploring strategies for devices or technology and they don't really know what the need is yet. They just know that they've really determined that there's some features that are really beneficial for a student at this time. So thinking about how those foundational skills need to develop and where you're still trying to explore what might be the biggest need for a student. And then you'll see here this it says the above identified device is simply the device currently in use and any other device with similar features may be used. So that's where you're really identifying in the present level. This is okay, a student right now is using a Nova Chat. He really needs to have this Nova Chat in order to communicate. It's a personally owned device. These are the features that are being used on the Nova Chat. But however, right now that's the device that he is using. But any other device that would give him those exact same features would be what should be used with a student. So obviously there's extreme circumstances and there's specific examples, but a lot of students may have a personal device that we wouldn't want to be changing every year. So just making sure that this is something you're having deep conversations with families about especially when it comes to AAC, but really talking about those features that a student needs in order to participate in Access School.
And Kathy just reminded us all that in the last COP meeting, there was some IEP documentation examples linked.
So that one comment that the parent shared, just like you wouldn't let a child use a power tool until they're trained on the power tool, there's a time and place for technology. True
And
or false? Comments, please share.
Heidi, this video was from 2011. So yes, pre-COVID life.
Very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, there were no masks on
Yep.
children in that video. School in the 80s, Laura says.
Yeah.
It does feel like that, right?
I definitely found it compelling that the parents that spoke are involved in big tech and were opting for their children to not have that. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
So we talk about that need versus that benefit, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
This
Hannah,
makes
me
my
too.
blood boil. I've had to support they, why, and why we integrate technology into future ready classrooms. Kathy, I think it's interesting that many schools have tech but do not teach keyboarding. Oh my gosh, how many kids do not use their keyboards well?
Yes.
Feel free to unmute. We do not need to.
Yes, you can definitely unmute.
We didn't want to make your blood boil, so I apologize if this,
Yes.
if we're not promoting this idea. So I hope you aren't thinking that. We just thought it was very fascinating to think about some of the highest tech people in the country are choosing to send their kids
Yep.
to school and purposely not use technology when
Hmm.
clearly there's a lot of benefit, right? Kathy, you unmuted. I'm feeling like you have a thought.
I have lots of thoughts on this one. But again, it's all about the purpose and what's the purpose and the goal.
Hmm.
If you have a student who absolutely has to have something, then they have to have it. I mean, it doesn't, it's just kind of one of those gray area things that it's like, come on, people. Um, so it all depends upon what we're looking at here. It's that end goal. But technology has a place, and yeah, there's when you're doing auto mechanics and you need to take an engine apart, you need a wrench. You don't need a computer at that point, unless you're doing diagnostics. But you guys know what I mean. It's all about the tool and the use and the end goal. So
Totally.
I have lots to say.
Notice
Same
that they
thing.
didn't show anyone in our community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, Mike.
I think one of the interesting things is that when you take it, I've had this in public settings many times where I had to sort of defend um, why and how we are integrating technology into the educational setting. And yeah, Kathy, we're doing this to support kids and we are providing opportunities for them to create and curate and collaborate and be and sometimes make mistakes. I mean, we provide breakfast to kids when we didn't used to, and yet we think that integrating technology is, well, we don't, but some people think integrating technology is um, quote unquote the lazy way or just uh, opportunity for kids to search YouTube for things that aren't what they probably should be doing academically, instead of looking at it as, well, these are learning opportunities and look at all that they can do. The type of supports that I'm going to go on forever, so I'm going to just be quiet in about 30 seconds. But like the types of supports that are on any device, I mean, you guys put in here before, but Alexa, they can be simple devices that support those that are struggling with writing and those that are struggling
I
with
had
spelling and adding voice and empowering kids,
a
Anyway, I'm gonna be quiet. And I
No,
just
we
think
love
that
it.
those families mostly, they're supporting their kids in other ways. If you're Silicon Valley and you are a computer programmer and you live
here.
that, you've given your kids those opportunities, likely they have those tools. We're making sure that everybody has access, no matter who their family or what their family's resources
Who?
are. So,
I think you make a
done.
great.
Totally.
And I think that, and I know Mike has something he's about to share too. But
So
even that training on the power tool, right? So even it, I think what I took out of this even too was just like the idea. I like the idea of thinking about how are we training to support students to use that resource or that
and
tool. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that they just giving them a technology or a piece of equipment, a Chromebook, without giving them the tools on how to use it, I think is also still really important. We do have students who don't use them appropriately
and
at times, right? So we
Yes.
do still need to teach kids how to use them appropriately and how it can become a need for students. So,
administrative assistant.
Mike, can you say that again?
He. I had a parent who told an administrative assistant he can't use the device because he could go on internet to get the answers. This was 2003.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. it wasn't that long ago either, right? I mean,
Right.
it's incredible. I just put in there remembering FAPE, right? Free and appropriate public education. I can't imagine a student who may need technology having to go to that school. We've
Mhm.
proven already in the field that we're in as assistive technology supports that many students need technology. It's part of it. It's not just a benefit, it's a need for them. And so we can't take that away. And how is that a free and appropriate public education if they don't have access to those supports? So we have just a few minutes left. So we have a couple other resources in here. One is a research article that is the overview of assistive technology possibilities for teachers to enhance academic outcomes for all students. So kind of going back to some of that UDL in the past, when we've had a session on that, but then also the importance of assistive technology in the virtual and physical classroom. And now we've seen that more than ever, needing to look at the needs of a student, not only that is physically there, but a student who might be at home as well. And so one quote that we took out of that research article: to students with special needs, AT is a means of empowerment, hope, and encouragement. And we are not going to have time for these case studies or examples today, but feel free to think about these and think about how you would provide or support a student who may or may not have an IEP using technology and getting access. So not only are we talking here about maybe universal design for learning and supporting all students who may benefit them, but then also thinking about other things that a student might need as far as features for their access to their academics and schooling.